Good evening again, live from the 7 newsroom. We have breaking news out of London. Buckingham Palace has just announced Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, has passed away at the age of 99.
Prince Philip left hospital last month after heart surgery and an infection to rest at Windsor Castle. Tonight, the royal family and people around the Commonwealth and the world will be mourning the loss of a revered man, a towering figure in a public life for more than 7 decades.
Her Majesty the Queen, Britain's longest-serving monarch, and by her side throughout, the longest-serving consort. Together, they changed the royal family. It was Philip who was there every step of the way.
I think Prince Philip, as the Queen's consort, was her strength and stay. He was essential, really, for her to carry out her job in the way she was able to do it. It's a partnership, that's what it was. They were together so long, I can't imagine the Queen would have been able to really cope without him.
Britain, though, was his adopted home. Born on the Greek island of Corfu, his grandfather, a Danish prince who became King of Greece. His family was soon exiled. Philip grew up in France and Germany, and later the United Kingdom, where he joined the Navy as a cadet. And at Dartmouth Naval College, he first laid eyes on his second cousin, the young Princess Elizabeth. He was 18, she was 13, but they exchanged letters and love grew. In 1947, they married, and post-war Britain celebrated a happy young couple.
Before long, the calls of the people were answered, as onto the famous balcony came the bride and bridegroom,
whose lives would change sooner than expected.
The tragic news reached Princess Elizabeth and her husband while in Kenya.
King George VI was dead, Elizabeth was queen, and Philip her consort, a role he kept up for 7 decades.
I think that the main lesson that we've learned is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. It may not be quite so important when things are going well, but it is absolutely vital when things get difficult.
More than 20,000 solo engagements and many more alongside Her Majesty. Patron of more than 800 organisations, a champion for wildlife and conservation, and keeping young minds and bodies active. Establishing the Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme, completed by more than 750,000 Australians.
Children come into the world completely ignorant and with no experience. At least this gives them some idea of what life is like.
In public, often ridiculed for his gaffes, he once asked Indigenous Australians, "Do you still throw spears at each other?" He called himself a cantankerous old sod. At home, Philip was more than anything head of the family. Father to Charles, Anne, Andrew and Edward, grandfather and great-grandfather, passing on his sense of duty. When Princess Diana died in 1997, he encouraged William to walk behind his mother's coffin, saying he'd regret it later if he didn't. Living to see William marry Kate Middleton and Harry wed Meghan Markle in 2018, Philip has been seen as a transformative influence, an outsider who shook up the royal family, encouraging an engagement with the press and the public, and rarely backing down. Until 2017, when he retired at the age of 96. A quieter life at Sandringham awaited, he hoped, before January 2019. The Duke rolled the Royal Land Rover after colliding with a car on a public road. 2 women were hurt, one suffering a broken arm. The Prince's licence was handed in and a sense of independence vanished. As a couple, they have created a second Elizabethan era, the Queen and her Prince, together for 73 years. An unmatched partnership, a shared commitment to public service, and Philip, a towering figure throughout his 99 years.
Our Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Whitfeld is live in London with us tonight. Hugh, the Palace has just released a statement.
Rick, we have a statement from Windsor Castle where, of course, the Queen and Prince Philip have spent most of the last 12 months during this pandemic. The statement reads, "It is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen announces the death of her beloved husband, His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His Royal Highness passed away peacefully this morning at Windsor Castle. Further announcements will be made in due course. The royal family join with people around the world in mourning his loss." And naturally there will be messages of condolences shared right around the world, and we have this message from the Australian Governor-General David Hurley.
"It is my solemn and melancholy duty to advise that His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, has passed away earlier today in the United Kingdom. I have informed the Prime Minister, and I understand that the Government will make announcements in due course concerning funeral arrangements and how Australians may express their condolences. This is a sad and a historic day. As we mourn, we should also reflect and give thanks for His Royal Highness's lifetime of service, devotion and commitment. Service beginning with his time in the Royal Navy, including during the Second World War, when he was mentioned in dispatches while serving as a young sub-lieutenant on board HMS Valiant. Devotion to Her Majesty the Queen, whom he married in 1947 and lovingly supported throughout his life. And commitment to the Commonwealth and the many hundreds of organisations, including many here in Australia, of which he was a patron and for whom he was a passionate advocate and supporter. His Royal Highness visited Australia 21 times, including on each of Her Majesty's state visits. He was a popular, engaged and welcome visitor to our shores. His impact was profound, not least on the more than 775,000 young Australians who have participated in the Duke of Edinburgh's International Awards Scheme since it began here in 1959. Many Australians will have a personal memory of His Royal Highness, and many around the world will, in coming days, reflect on his remarkable life and legacy. As we reflect and remember, we think especially of Her Majesty the Queen and of her family, who have lost a beloved husband, father, grandfather and great-grandfather. On behalf of the Australian people, I extend our deepest condolences to Her Majesty and her family, to the people of the Commonwealth and to all people who will share in this sad news. We give thanks for the Duke of Edinburgh's service, his loyal and loving devotion to Her Majesty, and his commitment to Australia, the Commonwealth and all her people. May he rest in peace.
That was the Governor-General David Hurley. Hugh Whitfield, what happens now?
Well, so naturally, because of COVID, things have changed, but it is important to point out that from the very start, when events like this are planned by the Palace, and they are meticulously planned, that Prince Philip never wanted a fuss made, and that is something about his character that we know stretching back decades. He never liked the fuss that goes with being a royal. Nonetheless, there will be formalities that take place. Prince Philip has passed away at Windsor Castle. We expect that his body will remain there for at least the next 8 days, and in about 8 days' time, the expectation would be that there would be a private military funeral to be held at St George's Chapel inside the grounds of Windsor Castle. That is the chapel where, of course, Harry and Meghan were married nearly 3 years ago. We saw Prince Philip there, of course, at that wedding. The royal family is scattered across much of England at the moment. It's expected that the Cambridges are in Norfolk with their children during these school holidays. And the Queen, of course, has spent, as I said, the last 12 months or so at Windsor Castle, and in recent times Prince Philip joined her there, and of course it follows a month in hospital for Prince Philip earlier this year.
Thanks, Hugh. So that breaking news from London, Prince Philip has died aged 99. The world's thoughts are tonight with the Queen and a royal family in mourning. We'll have special coverage on 7 and right now on 7news.com.au and a special edition of Weekend Sunrise from 6 a.m. For now, good night.